All right. 1 second. Okay, guys, welcome to our Thursday night call. A lot of you are new to these Thursday night calls. They just have been growing and growing and growing. We started out with about 10 or 15 people. You can see sometimes we have 40 or 50 people on the calls now. It's kind of great that we get to have different people every week. We try to set it as a leadership call, and we usually try to have somebody come on and share their story, share their heart a little bit. And I'm excited about tonight's call. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Michael Huey. Me and my wife Lisa, we live in Clearwater, Florida area, in Safety Harbor, Florida. We're Pro Sevens in the company. We've been in for about 6 years. A pastor friend of mine, Daniel Bernard, enrolled us just about 6 years ago now. It's kind of funny how time flies. I was talking to Dr. Rodarte about that today, about how we are the chosen ones of people that get to be a part of this special opportunity. And so that I don't waste a lot of time, I am going to click on here. I made a little slide here so that and when you guys come on, she's smiling. When you guys come on, just make sure that you mute yourself and that you stop your camera if you can. Thank you guys for doing that. But this is kind of funny. I don't pay a lot of attention to my messenger. And Melody sent me a message a long time ago about she had some Paraxio. And when I read the message the other day, I was pulling my hair out, right? Because I don't have any, but what I would pull out, Dr. Darty, I would. But shortly after that, I found somebody, a doctor actually in Texas, that had 10 bags of Paraxio. So it's kind of my favorite. And so one of the reasons why I have Dr. Melody Rodarte on the call is because we had the opportunity. You can see I put a picture of her up there that I actually took from our Elite Academy that we just got back from in Denver. And I don't know about anybody else on this call, but to me, it was the best event I've ever been a part of. It was my 23rd event that I have attended. My wife and I have not missed an event since we've been involved in LifeVantage, whether it's a Premier School or a Super Saturday. And we were just really blessed by Dr. Rodarte. And so you guys look at her credentials. I mean, I think I can't remember exactly who it was that read her credentials, but I think they kind of didn't realize how big her credentials were. And so you can see it: board certified internal medicine and obesity and wound care, chief resident, internal medicine residency at Samaritan Medical Center, chaired pharmacy board. I didn't know that she specialized in skincare stuff also, which is kind of cool. And I just read all this stuff about her. I'm just let's just say I'm more impressed than I already was. I saw that she was voted as a top 5 obesity medicine doctor. She's married to her husband, Tony. I think Tony was picking on her at the Denver Elite Academy. He said, I forget, maybe it was Kelly Rich, I think, that was introducing you. Mel, you can shake was that who it was? It was Kelly, right? Was it Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she kind of was saying that Tony had some things that he would have loved to have said, but they weren't let that happen. So without further ado, I've asked Melody to come on tonight, and I'm actually going to make her a host. Hold on, let me do that real quick. Now let me make you a host here if I can. I think may not have to, but I will. Hold on 1 second. Let me just find you here, and then I'll do that. Where did I must have lost you somehow. Let me make you, okay, make host. Okay. So I did that. So now I've made you and me are the hosts. So can you guys still hear me okay, even though I made you the host? You're still okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. So I'm going to, first I just want her to tell her story. tell you a little bit more. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff here. And then I'm going to have her talk a little bit about what she shared at our Elite Academy in Denver on our probiotic, which, guys, if you know, most of our health issues start with I'm a big component of a guy, and I don't even know if Mel follows this guy. There's a guy named Dave Asprey, and Dave talks about biohacking. He talks about three things. He talks about inflammation. He talks about mitochondria repair and dysfunction, and he talks about gut health. And so Melody had the pleasure of sharing gut health with us when we were in Denver, and so I asked her to share her story and share a little bit about that. So, Mel, the take it away.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me on this tonight. Definitely excited to share my story. But you know, I've always wanted to be a physician since I was, 5 years old. My parents have, recordings of me talking about it, and it was just, how do I keep my little brother healthy? And so and there aren't any physicians in my family. We were first generation born here, so I just wanted to figure out the best way to get to medical school, and I had blinders on and went, and was lucky enough to do that. So in the course of becoming a physician, I chose the path of becoming a DO, which is a doctor of osteopathic medicine, just because of two mentors I had, and I liked that they were more holistic. They wanted to know they held patients' hands, and they wanted to know what they were eating and how their job was, and I just kind of liked their philosophy. So that was the route that I took. And then as I started medical school, I liked taking care of the whole person. I didn't want to focus on just one little thing at that time. So I chose internal medicine. If you look back in my charts when I started back in 2005, I'd always have a list of healthy things like vitamins for people. As I was starting my wound care at that time and hyperbaric medicine, we were back in 2004, 2005 doing high dose antioxidants, and just realizing the problem with doing high doses. There was trying to find the right combination. Fast forward to about 2008, 2009, my son ended up being very sick and getting an autoimmune condition called alopecia totalis, and he lost all of his hair, his eyelashes, his eyebrows. And as a physician and as a mom, I couldn't fix it. And I didn't like everything that we were doing from the Western side of medicine. And I knew I needed to reduce his stress, because I knew the root cause of autoimmune disorders was oxidative stress, and he was a normal child, but unfortunately, he was a little bit like me, his mom, and really was a type A personality. Enjoyed getting 100% on tests, and if he didn't, it was a little bit stressful. So his dermatologist wanted to put him on Prozac, and I didn't want to put him on Prozac as a normal kid. I started looking for some other options.
Hold on one second. Guys, when you come on, Mel, if you can do me a favor, down there where it says participants and mute all, just mute everybody, and then we'll unmute. Because I don't want people interrupting you when you're talking. It should click on participants, and it should say mute all. You see at the bottom of the screen where it says invite participants.
And then if I hit mute all, do I then find you again to unmute you, or can you unmute yourself?
You'll have to unmute me. You can just click on my picture at the top and unmute me at the top where the little screen is at the top. But just click mute all. And people, if you guys have just come on, stop your cameras and mute your lines, please. Perfect, Mel. You're good. Go ahead. You did.
Okay.
That's perfect.
Oops. I guess I don't need to share my screen just yet.
No, you're good. You're good. So back. Yeah, you're good. I think
I'm good. Okay. So at that time, I just started trying to nutrition-wise. We were lucky enough that he grew everything back, but I just needed to find something else that would work for him. And so, thankfully, about 2.5 years ago, Lorna Nierenberg, I have referred to her husband, who's an ophthalmologist. He actually was taking my dad's cataracts out and said, hey, Melody, you know, always does preventative medicine. Tell her that my wife is going to give her a call and tell her about something that we're doing. The rest is history. She called me and said, Neil and I want to present something to you. And I met with her and she showed me it's that easy, the ABC Primetime. And it just clicked with me. I thought, oh my gosh, this is reducing oxidative stress. I have to use this in my son. But, you know, the type of physician I am, I said, I got to go look this up on PubMed first. So, because when my patients would come to me, that's the first place I would go. I'd go to PubMed to see if there was something I could read about a supplement. And there was usually just a white paper. There was never anything with substantial credit. And 2.5 years ago, there was I think it was 13 or 16 peer-reviewed studies, and my eyes got humongous, and I scrolled down and I saw the one in circulation, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is real, because I got excited from the ABC. I just needed something else to validate it, that it was real. I just kind of jumped in. I didn't understand direct sales or network marketing. I had never been introduced to it, let alone know how it works. But I became very passionate once I started reading all of those articles, and I was for sure, it's like, my son is going on this, and then I read more, and I'm like, my whole family's going on this. The rest is history. You can't stop me from talking about this now.
Awesome. Why don't you do me a favor and talk about we've all, and I love to just hear your perspective on this. So we, just a couple months back, we added a new technology with NRF1. And this is the second piece of that little thing that Dave Asprey always talks about. And it's just funny that it's almost like the guy's, you know, he's copying what we're doing without really doing it. And people don't know, because, you know, it's funny, Mel, I was on the plane with a PhD student coming home and from New York, and he said he was studying oxidative stress. And I was like, really? I played kind of dumb, you know, like I didn't really know what I was talking about. And he said, I can't find anything that significantly reduces oxidative stress. And I'm like, well, like what have you been looking at? And he said, I've been looking at glutathione therapy. He just kept listing all this stuff. And I said, what if I told you I could find something that reduced it by 40% in 30 days? And he said, that's impossible. And I said, I just happened to have a peer-reviewed article in my bag. And so I pulled it out and I showed him. And he basically said, he goes, you're like an answer to my prayers. Like, I've been, you know, searching day and night. And just like you said, if people don't know, we're not there yet. So why don't you talk just real briefly before you go into gut health, talk about what the significance of NRF1 has meant to you and what it will mean to the community. I think it's going to be just as big as NRF2 activation, but just give your a little brief understanding of that.
I think NRF1 is going to become even bigger than we really think right now, just because the research is starting to come in where we were, 15 years ago, 10 years ago with NRF2. The cool thing about it is, what do most people complain about? It doesn't even have to be going to, a physician to talk about it. They talk about poor sleep and poor energy. And that NRF1 pathway, that mitochondrial health, is really what's needed in there to keep our cell healthy. I don't know if you had heard the call I did with Carrie Dickey, but I was so excited to share this with my team last year. So every 10 years in internal medicine, you have to take this horribly big exam to be state board certified. So I had gone to Seattle for a 4-day course, and it's seriously 12 hours long. And the oncologist, just to refresh my memory, so I could take this test again. And the oncologist got in front of to speak, and he said, the first slide I'm going to put up, you're all going to probably think I'm crazy, but this is the direction medicine is going in oncology. And it said, cancer is not a genetic disease, it's a mitochondrial disease. First, there's an issue with mitochondrial damage, dysfunction, which then the gene, the DNA, is not protected, and now you can have a mutation and cancer is born. So they were saying 66% of cancers are really secondary to mitochondrial dysfunctions first. So I couldn't believe it, because I knew that we were coming out with a NRF1 at the time, and I took a picture of the slide and I sent it to my team, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible that we're going to be able to have a NRF1 activator that's for mitochondrial health. So the more that we're looking into it, it's not just neurological diseases, but I mean, the gamut goes on. I mean, the biggest thing is nothing new is out there for some of these neurologic diseases. So it'd be nice to have something natural to help the mitochondria function and increase energy, make better sleep. When we sleep, our bodies, I mean, I'll go on and on, but it's really cool that we have that,
Great. I know that it's kind of funny, a side note here, and I may keep you a little bit longer, so hopefully you're okay with that. But one of the funny things is one of my enrollers enrolled a person in Canada, and when she got her pack, she just saw the ABC primetime, did a 3 call, got excited, her package came in, and so he followed up with her and he said, hey, how are you doing on the products? And she said, oh, I feel amazing. My sleep is amazing, blah, blah, blah. And he's thinking, he said, what bottle did you take? And she said, the one with the silver wrapper. And she hadn't even taken NRF2 yet. She was taking NRF1. And she was really just kind of rattling off all this thing. And she said, you mean you haven't taken NRF2 yet? And she goes, oh, I thought that's what that one was. And so it's just funny how people, when you get to that point, you just kind of, you have a realization that, I mean, it's funny. I'm going to be 50 coming up soon. And it's just amazing when I think that I don't look or feel my age. And my mindset now is totally different than it was the previous 25 years, because I just realized that, I shared this a couple weeks ago. My dad is 80, and I tried everything with him, and he was on about 13 meds, and then as of just this last year, he's off of all 13 of his meds. He was diagnosed with atherosclerosis. He no longer has atherosclerosis. We have a study on that. So my dad's going to be 80. How many 80-year-olds do you know that are on no medications now and have the heart of a 50-year-old? And I thought my dad was checking out about 4.5 years ago. So, yeah. So, okay. So why don't you go on now and talk about the third piece of what I know you agree with me, and what we all know is we've talked about inflammation. We've talked about mitochondrial dysfunction. Now, why don't you share a little bit about gut health, and I know you've got some stuff that you want to share, so why don't you just go ahead and share with that a little bit.
Yeah, and that's incredible about your dad, but it's a gift. That's what I feel about this company and sharing this science is it's a gift. It's a gift of health. Whether or not somebody wants to accept it and use it is up to them. And that's always how I've practiced. I tell everybody when they meet me that I'm not their mother, I'm their doctor. I'm going to give them a list of things that I myself do and I would promote. And then it's up to them to pick and choose those tools and use them for better health and to stay out of the doctor's office. So when you said that, that's incredible. I mean, just to not have to carry a pill box and a pill list in your wallet that's just a gift to give your dad, the gift of health. I mean,
yeah. He used to, it was funny, the bag, Mel, when he had this bag of supplements before, and when my wife started to wean him off all these supplements, it's like, he's like, well, what am I going to do with all these pills? I said, there's this thing, it's called a toilet. You just empty them out in there and you flush them down, so yeah.
Yep. Or you do the other things that I've done before too, which is you give it to doctors who do medical missions, and then we take them down and we use them for certain things.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so I am very excited for probiotics and probiotic health. I'll share a couple of the slides that I did from the science seminar, because I want those of you on the call that are already, customers and distributors to have a posture. I tell this to my team. We have to have a posture and be very excited about what we have, because there's nothing else on the market right now out there. And that goes for our probiotic. It's incredible. So I'm going to share the things that I feel what absolutely makes us stand out. And then you can, of course, take it or leave it. I'm just here to educate. And so, you have to, most people, and this was me at least 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago, thinking I don't need to take a probiotic. I'm healthy. I joke, I ask people what their stool looks like. That tells me a lot about their gut. And I would tell you I had normal stool. So I'm thinking I don't need to have a probiotic. But the more you would get into things and knowing that our food changes it, whether or not we've taken an antibiotic 10 years ago or yesterday, it can affect up to 10 years, where you live. There's so many things that change the way that our microbiome is, that we need to take a probiotic to stay healthy. So what I like about ours specifically is the 6 strains that they chose, because they are well studied, and so they're not kind of just pulling them out of a hat. They were very meticulous in which ones they started off with. So like Lactobacillus acidophilus is the most researched one, and it's vital to our digestion and absorption and controlling kind of that microbiome that's going on. And that key line, it produces antibiotic substances, so it helps our immune system stay well. And then we don't always want our immune system to be fighting things that are coming they're coming into. So that's that word allergens. We want to decrease the inflammation that can happen and making antibodies. The Lactobacillus plantarum is so cool because it lines the entire gut and it protects our gut. The tight junctions, doesn't want, foreign things to get through into our bloodstream. So that's wonderful that they picked that strain. The Lactobacillus casei is probably, with the acidophilus, is probably the most common lay people have heard about, because they think about it in their yogurt that they're eating. Let me just stop and tell you, eat your yogurt, eat real yogurt, not processed yogurt. But what it's really just helping is oral and stomach. So esophagus, oral, but it doesn't really make it past it. So many people think, oh, I'm eating yogurt, I'm fine. I'm like, it's not really, moving through to the small intestine. So use it for oral health in your esophagus and your stomach. But the Lactobacillus casei is really good for helping digestion of food as well. And it's important to use when you've had to use an antibiotic or after an infection to help that microbiome. And it decreases that autoimmunity, that thing that I was talking about, where our immune system likes to have trigger itself. And so you want to know between pathogen and self. So that strain actually really helps with us knowing the difference between pathogen and self. The Lactobacillus rhamnosus is helpful. Again, we're kind of talking the same things, but what's really different about this strain is its tumor fighter properties. So it really helps decrease the chances of tumor formations, cancers, those bad kind of things, because you have rapid turnover in the colon, small intestine, large intestine. So you want something protecting. The last two, those Bifidobacterium, those really love the colon. It's where they should be deposited. And the cool parts about it is with the line prevents weight gain and improves insulin sensitivity and cholesterol. Your gut tells your body when it's hungry. So you need to have those special bacteria that are helping with the sensitivity, so that when the hormones are released, like PYY and ghrelin, and there's so many, people really don't realize that there's that connection. You want that sensitivity so that your brain goes, oh, I'm not hungry, I'm thirsty, or oh, I'm fine. And it also has the tumor fighter, decreasing inflammation, helping the immune system. And then I also talked about that word endotoxemia. When you have an inflamed, leaky gut, the cell actually can't stay protected. And so toxins and bacteria, viruses, parasites, they'll actually go through the cell directly into the bloodstream. And so you want a probiotic that is helping maintain the cell's integrity, and so that something is not getting through straight into the bloodstream that shouldn't get into there. So that I like that they picked these 6 strains, because they have very specific functions and they can synergistically work together. And so there's that other word that we're so big into is synergy. One on their own doesn't do as much as together. The other key thing that I love about our patented system. So we have 2 separate patents. One is going to be the BioTrack technology, and the next one will be Well-Immune. So I'll talk about both of those, which make us stand out. The BioTrack technology allows us to have like this sphere-shaped tablet or pill, and it's the freeze-dried probiotics that are in it. And the cool part is, I won't go into too much detail, but most things when you have a tablet, kind of use my hand, it's so compressed that it can actually kill the probiotics. And so they make it in 2 spheres and then they put it together, and it's layer upon layer. So with that being said, it allows it to continually dissolve from a pH of 1 to a pH of 7, and it lays down a specific strain at each pH where they need to be. And so most probiotics, capsules, tablets, liquids, only like 5 to 7% make it through the stomach. And it's even worse if air has gotten into it or moisture. It actually activates the probiotics too early. So our patented system allows it to stay asleep until it gets past the stomach into the small intestine, or the duodenum, which is where you want it to start opening up. And so we actually end up having 60 to 70% make it through the stomach. So that alone sets us apart. And even on top of that is we contain something else that's been on the market, and it's a beta-glucan. And the one that we put in there was Wellmune, which has got 12 research studies on it. It's a beta-glucan that's made from baker's yeast, and it's a 1,3,1,6 glucan. The cool part about this is in that research, it showed that it decreased cold and flu duration, it decreased inflammation of the gut itself, the lining of the gut, and it helps our mood. So people don't realize, like, we have neurotransmitters in our gut releasing dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, those types of things. And we need a healthy gut for our mood to be more stable too. So those are just the 3 quick things about ours that seriously, we can have a posture that we are better than what's on the market. And prescription, I'll tell you, I was paying $125 a month with insurance for my husband's, which needed to be refrigerated. And
can you go back, Mel, can you do me a favor? Can you go back 1 slide, just kind of show that? So what, because I really, one more, because I like what you talked about this when we were at, talk about this for a minute, what you were just saying. And because we hear this all the time about how it has to be. And it's funny, I don't know if you're familiar with this product, but there's a probiotic on the market that I thought was the best. It's called Megaspore Biotic. It actually, I believe the company is actually in Arizona, and they have published studies on their research. And when I showed this to one of the guys, he was like, oh, I can't even look at it, because he just knew what it was. So talk about that real quick before you finish about the refrigerator thing again.
So it's really cool. Ours doesn't need refrigeration. And so there's a problem with ones that are refrigerated, because it, from manufacturer to, supplier to shelf, any time during that, if temperature went wrong, you could activate the probiotics. So then you're actually buying something with dead probiotics in it. So I love that ours doesn't need to be refrigerated, because you can take it with you. That's one of the biggest things that goes wrong with refrigerated ones, and is when people travel, if they forget it at home or they forget it in their pocket, the quality just goes down, the potency goes down. So I love that ours is truly something you can carry around with you and not worry about temperature.
Awesome. Well, I hope that this was some good information for you. And I don't know if you can switch me back over to the host, Mel, and I'll there you go. Awesome. Did it do it yet? I don't. Let me see.
Make host. Yep, there you go.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for doing that. And let's see. You just have to click stop sharing, I think, up there at the underneath where. Yep, there you go. Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the call. Thank you for just your heart. I said this to earlier when I was on the phone with Dr. Rodarte. I don't know if you like to be called Melody. Some people some people like to be called the doctor, and some people like to just be a normal person. And so, you like to be just a normal person. Okay, good. But so I'm glad that we met. I'm glad that we've had this opportunity to get to know each other. I hope that, we can get to know each other, because we're going to be around this for a long time. I said this to Melody when we were on earlier, that we've just stepped into this. We didn't expect to be where we are. We're blessed, and and favored and very grateful that we have this in our hands. So thank you so much. And I'm going to finish with the call with, I'm going to unmute him. I'm going to invite Dr. Chad Luxembourg on the call. It's great because Dr. Rodarte and Dr. Luxembourg have been added to the Field Advisory Board for LifeVantage. It's a great honor. Chad, most of you who don't know him yet, does a Sunday night call. You gotta believe, the old the Mets and it's kind of funny. My wife is a huge Cubs fan, so somebody's got to win sometime, and finally it was the Cubs last year. But Chad saved my eye a little over 18 years ago when I tried to dunk a basketball before catching the ball first, and I poked myself in the eye. I always say he made me blind for about 3 days, gluing my eyes shut, and you had to keep the other eye shut, which was kind of I literally knew what it was like to be blind for 3 days. But I brought Chad on because I consider Chad not only my business partner and a great guy and a great friend. My wife and I just love him. We just think he's an amazing person. I'm excited to what the future holds. I'm excited that he's a part of the medical advisory board for LifeVantage, and that we get to listen to him and Melody and several, my friend Brett Brimhall and just all these other guys. And I wanted Chad just to talk real briefly about 2 takeaways. And I told him anything he wants. If he wants to talk about they have a medical meeting, whatever it is, I just asked him to share 2 takeaways. So Chad, I love you, brother. I appreciate you. It was good seeing you last night. So the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Okay, Mike, can you hear me all right?
I can. You sound great. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. First, I want to thank God for allowing me to reach this moment in time. And I want to thank you for inviting me on the call. It's quite an honor, especially to be on the same call as Melody. She did a fabulous job in the last Elite Academy, and I've just actually gotten to know her a little bit with the Medical Advisory Board. And we are so blessed in this company to have the quality of people that we have in the company. And, I was at the meeting last night with you when Brandon Cunningham did the presentation, and something he said, he never said it before that I've heard, but it would just really, really struck me. He said, if you will spend the money to join LifeVantage, it will be like joining a great club. And the quality of the people that you will then associate with is worth more or anything else that you will get out of it. And that is such a really incredible thing to say, but it's so true. It's just the fact that you will associate yourself with the rest of the people that are in our organization. And that is really a blessing, as I said. Now, last night, it was a really great presentation. And one thing that came up that really was an epiphany for me was what you were talking about, the 3 pillars of health, or the triangle of natural health. And it's really made a change for me already. I came up with a form in my office today, and I showed the triangle of health: inflammation control, clean energy, and gut health. And then the activated essentials, which is our answer from our wonderful company that handles those 3 priorities. And I have talked this morning to all my patients about it already. And the form has little checkoffs, and it talks about natural health and that triangle. And I think that was just tremendous the way it was brought up last night. I hadn't heard it described that way before. So I have to thank Brandon Cunningham for that. That's one thing. The next thing is, I just want to say that to have a company with a science department science officer like Natalie Chevreau is amazing. She whips up a hand cream that is amazing, tremendous, and the price point is only $12. It's a huge supply. A little bit goes so far. I got some and brought it to the office, and the girls love it, and everyone in the office that's tried it loves it. So that's a really big deal. And then talk about Natalie Chevreau. Mexico would not allow protandimin because they wouldn't allow 3 of the 5 ingredients. That is amazing. You might say, well, okay, we're not going to Mexico then. How can you take 3 of the 5 ingredients that were designed by Dr. McCord in 2003 and come up with something that will do the same thing? Well, Natalie Chevreau did it. She threw the pepper from the Japanese formula in, she threw something else in, and she tested it, and it went increasing heme oxygenase by 1,500% and a huge rise in SOD as well, proving that it works. So now we're in Mexico. We have 3 formulas because we have to have different formulas depending on the laws of the countries we're involved in. What a great company we have. What a great staff and amazing scientific validation. So that's all I really wanted to say.
Guys, a couple things, if there's anybody that's on that was in Denver and you want to comment, I will allow you to do that. We've went a little bit longer and I wanted to go a little bit longer tonight, but a couple, the really cool thing that Chad just talked about, and Lisa was just talking about this, is the patents and the efficacy of those in those different formulations. And what was really cool about what Chad just said is that they work synergistically the same. They have similar ingredients, but just think about that. Just think about that. How do you patent an herb? It's very hard. No one's ever patented herb here. We're going to have patents on 2 more formulations that do the same thing. And I think it's great. You know, there's a lot more stuff like that coming down the road. We had the opportunity. I'll just say this. If you were not in Denver, do not miss Orlando. Okay? Do not miss Orlando. And the reason I tell you do not miss Orlando is because we've been on elite calls since coming back, a couple of them, and there's some big things coming in Orlando. You cannot jump on these calls and we can tell you what the events are like, but as Chad and I know, we've watched the wave of people that have came through this company, and you have people now like Melody, and you have like Brett Brimhall, just quality people, guys that were making their own supplements and gave all that up to be a part of this and know. And we're just excited that you guys get to be a part of Listen This. I'm excited that we get to lock arms with people like Dr. Rodarte and Nancy Bryan, who I've had on this call a couple times. Just the Sean McKee, who I've had on our calls. Guys, our medical advisory board is not people that they hire to come to this company. They are distributors, okay? One of my friends, we were just talking today about Dr. Maniscalco, who's a cardiologist in Tampa that has over 3,000 patients on the product. So, guys, I hope you guys got a lot of value out of tonight. I will be posting this call on YouTube. I will put it onto a couple of our pages. I did want to tell you guys this. There was a lot of information on social media and how to build your brand and how to build social media. I can just tell you, learn this. Lisa and I hired a social media guy, had an appointment with him today. And, you know, Chad and I are mentored by Brandon Cunningham, and Brandon and I we talk on a daily basis now. I couldn't think of anybody that I'd be more excited to talk and work with this business every single day. I've got him doing calls for me tomorrow and some of our team. And we get to work with a Pro 10. I mentioned, and I don't know if she's still on, but we had a young girl just join in the Philippines, and oh yes, she is. Hey, Edney. She said this when Chris did a call with her the other day. She had 2 Master Pro 10s on the call with me, and she said in her last company that never happened and never would have happened. And I say this all the time. I've built a relationship with a guy and who's one of the top earners of all time in network marketing. And he said, never has that ever happened. So not alone do we have this amazing corporate staff. I'm going to post this next week on our call next week. So I hope you guys can be on next week. I'm going to do a validation of each. And I've got a special guest, another special guest next week. We're going to do, I'm going to go over and show you guys some of the credentials of our corporate staff. Guys, it's totally amazing that I'm not going to mention his name or the company that he's with, but it's with the Fortune 500 company, and I was listening to a call with him and a couple other people, and he just said, man, any company in the world would love to have the quality of people that we have in our company. So you guys can be secure that these guys have our back. We've partnered with John Maxwell. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Orlando, it's going to be a little bit different. Thursday is just going to be for Pro 6s and above. And Friday and Saturday is going to be all the meat and content for you guys to come to, the science seminar and several sessions, so that you can't make an excuse why you can't be there. So if you get registered now, I think you have a couple more weeks where it's $89. Bring as many people as you can to Orlando. As I said, there's going to be a couple announcements I'm not allowed to talk about, but you want to make sure you're there. Oh yeah, and if you guys can, you can upgrade now to the Platinum Pack experience and get 2 free tickets to the next event. So it means you can bring you and a spouse or you and a guest, and you can do that through your back office. I would suggest you do that, because the Platinum Pack experience is you get % off of the tickets. And guys, before I go, I just want to share this. I got more excited about this incentive trip that they've offered. Go on lifevantage.com and look at all of the promotions. I'm going to talk about them next week. But look, I've been in the company for 6 years. Never has there been more of an attainable promotion to the Bahamas that there is right now. It was just amazing. Brandon and I talked, and Lynette talked about it last night. And Chad just hit it home. Biohacking and this new term of nutrigenomics and, inflammation and cleaning up mitochondria and cleaning up your gut is guys, in my wheelhouse in the fitness and nutrition industry. I prayed that I could ever have something this significant. So hopefully you guys got some meat out of this tonight and got some understanding that no matter what you got going on, people deserve to know about this. Make it important, and I can promise you that if you haven't seen value tonight, you can continue just to know that there's more people just like that joining this company every single day. And I thank God every day for people like Chad and Melody and just everybody that's on this line today, Dr. Ivy, and the list goes on and on. So Chad, Melody, you guys, thank you all for being on the call. And I hope that you all have an amazing rest of your week. I am headed out to California tomorrow to an entrepreneur event called $1 Billion Body. I'm going to be there for a couple of days. I'm excited. I will be talking about that on the call next Thursday. So thank you guys again for being on the call. God bless you all. Have an amazing, amazing night.